Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the Koala English Podcast. I'm Caroline, and today's episode is going to feel a little different, more relaxed, more social, and very, very Australian. We're not sitting in a classroom today. We're not opening a grammar book. Instead, I want you to imagine you've been invited somewhere very special. You're standing in a backyard. There's food cooking. The air smells smoky and delicious. People are chatting, laughing, maybe holding a drink, and no one is in a hurry. Today, we're going to fire up the grill, so to speak, and dive right into the fun, super friendly, and, sometimes confusing world of Australian barbecue slang. Just picture this for a second. Can you smell it? That sizzle of food on the grill. You've got the warm sun on your face, the sound of friends just laughing in the background. That is the heart of a classic Aussie Barbie. And you know what? It's the perfect place to pick up the local lingo. So, welcome to the Barbie. And I'm going to be your guide at this little backyard get-together. Don't worry, this isn't some boring language lesson. We're going to learn some classic Aussie slang as our little barbecue party unfolds right here. All right, so what's our mission today? It's pretty simple, actually. By the time we're done here, you won't just understand what's being said at an Aussie Barbie. You'll actually be able to jump right into the conversation yourself. How good is that? Easy as. Okay, let's decode the lingo. The party's just getting started, right? The food's coming out, the drinks are ice cold, and you can already hear the slang flying around. So, let's break down the essential vocabulary you've absolutely got to know. First up, check it out. Alan is heading over to the grill with a big plate of these. What are they? They're called snags. That is the classic go-to Aussie word for a sausage. And seriously, no Barbie is complete without them. And this is a perfect example of how language just shifts depending on where you are. So while we Aussies are chucking snags on the Barbie, folks over in the UK, they might call them bangers. And in the US, you'd probably just hear sausage or hot dog. Isn't that fascinating? You've got 3 countries, the same food, but 3 totally different words for it. All right, next to the snags, we've also got some chicken, or as any true Aussie would call it, chook. This is a classic example of what we love to do with words in Australia. We shorten them. It just makes everything sound a bit more friendly, a bit more casual. It's a huge part of that relaxed vibe we're going for. So where are you keeping all the drinks cold? Well, in an esky, of course. You can see our friend Claire grabbing a drink from one right now. Honestly, the esky is an iconic, absolutely essential piece of kit for any Aussie barbecue. You just can't have one without it. And we can't forget about desserts, can we? Later on, we're going to be digging into a classic pavlova, but you'll almost always just hear it called a pav. See, there it is again. Another perfect example of that Aussie love for shortening words just to keep things nice and casual. Okay, so now that we've got the key words down, let's actually listen in on the conversation. Let's master some of this casual banter, because this is where you'll see how all these words get strung together, and it's where the language really, truly comes alive. You're going to hear this one a lot. Hey, Alan, chuck 'em on. It's just a super casual, friendly way of saying, put them on the grill. It sounds way more relaxed than something formal like, could you please begin cooking the sausages? Right? So as Alan gets those snags on, you might hear him say something like, I reckon they'll be ready in about 10 minutes. I reckon. It's such a classic substitute for I think or I believe. It just instantly makes what you're saying sound more informal and laid back. Okay, now for what is my absolute favorite Aussie expression. Yeah, nah. For example, yeah, nah, I don't think that's a good idea. I know, it sounds like a total contradiction, right? But trust me, it's a brilliant and super common way to politely disagree with someone. So, how on earth does that work? Well, it's simpler than it sounds. The yeah part, that's like the soft opener. It's basically saying, okay, I hear you. I get your point. It acknowledges them. And then the nah part comes in to deliver the actual disagreement, but it does it politely. It's actually a pretty clever social tool when you think about it. So, we've learned some words, we've learned some phrases, but why do Australians talk like this? Let's zoom out for a second and take a look at the whole Aussie barbecue vibe, the culture that's behind all this slang. And when you lay it out like this, you can really see the cultural differences, can't you? In Australia, the Barbie is all about being social, casual, and inclusive, and the slang totally reflects that. It's not so much about specific regional food styles like you might get in the US. It's way more about creating that friendly, relaxed atmosphere where everyone feels welcome. So here's the most important thing to remember. In Australia, using these shortened words and all this casual slang, it's not about being lazy. Not at all. It's a social code. It's a way of signaling, hey, I'm friendly, this is a relaxed space, and you are welcome here. It's really tied to this Aussie idea of putting everyone on the same level, cutting through all the formal stuff. All right, you've seen it all in action now. So let's wrap this up with your guide to sounding Aussie. We'll give you some simple, practical tips so you can feel totally confident using these phrases yourself. Okay, here are your pro tips. Number 1, context is everything. This is slang for friends and family, definitely not for a business meeting. Number 2, shortening words, like Barbie for barbecue or Pav for pavlova, is a super quick way to sound friendly. Number 3, I reckon is a fantastic casual swap for I think. And finally, pro tip number 4, if you have a really, really good Barbie, you can call it a ripper Barbie. That just means it was awesome. So, what do you think? Reckon you're ready for a ripper Barbie? There you have it, a crash course in the art of Aussie barbecue banter. At the end of the day, the language isn't just about the words themselves. It's about creating that fun, friendly, and inclusive vibe. So the only real question left is, reckon you're ready to give it a go? Now, before we wrap things up, let's stay at this Barbie just a little longer because there are a few more words and phrases you're almost guaranteed to hear when you're hanging out at an Aussie backyard get-together. Imagine the food has been on the grill for a while, everyone's eaten, and there's still some food left on the table. In Australia, we call that leftovers, the food that's still there after the meal. And honestly, leftovers from a Barbie are often the best part. Cold snags the next day? Not bad at all. Then someone might ask, anyone keen for a second round? And no, that doesn't mean a second barbecue. A second round simply means another serving of food or drink. Maybe you're going back for more prawns, or maybe you just didn't get enough the first time. Totally normal at a Barbie. While the food's cooking, you'll probably hear someone talking about flipping the food. To flip something just means to turn it over on the grill so it cooks evenly. And if they're flipping food, they're almost certainly using tongs. That handy tool you use to grab and turn hot food without burning your fingers. And if the Barbie turns out really well and everyone's happy, full, and relaxed, you might hear someone say, "That was a ripper Barbie." When Australians say something is a ripper, they mean it was fantastic, excellent, really great. So if you hear that, you know you've done something right. You'll also notice how polite but relaxed people sound when they talk. If someone asks for help, you might hear "coming right up," which just means "I'm doing it now." It's friendly, easy, and very common. When food is ready, someone might say, "Help yourself," which is a nice way of saying, "Please take food. You don't need to ask." Or you might hear "grab a plate," which is basically the signal that it's time to eat. And if it's your first time at someone's place, they'll often smile and say, "Make yourself at home." They're not telling you to rearrange the furniture. They're just letting you know that you can relax and feel comfortable. Now, all of this language makes a lot more sense when you understand the culture behind it. In Australia, using slang like this in social situations is completely normal. It doesn't sound rude or lazy. It actually makes you sound friendly and approachable. It tells people you're relaxed and open. If you compare that with the United States, barbecues are often casual too, but the language usually isn't shortened quite as much. So phrases like "I reckon" or "ripper" immediately sound very Australian to American ears. In the UK, people are informal in their own way, but you'll generally hear less slang like this. Expressions such as "yeah," "nah" might be understood, but they're not commonly used. So the big thing to remember is this. This kind of language is perfect when you're with friends, family, or in relaxed social settings. But it's not something you'd want to use in a business meeting, a job interview, or a formal situation. At a Barbie, though, it fits perfectly. If you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to share your ideas or thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a future episode. Thanks so much for listening to the Koala English Podcast. I'm Caroline, and I'll talk to you again very soon.